Welcome back to the Form is Temporary podcast, and it's the third episode of this pre-season. It's a pleasure to be back. We had a little week off from the last episode with Kanji and Chris after the FPL game launched on the Monday, and we were back with an episode straight away on the Thursday in your ears and on your screens. But we're back for another episode. In this one, we will be rating some of your drafts. So we've had some great teams sent in on the socials, on the Twitter, and on the Blue Sky, tfit_pod and Form is Temporary pod. And we're going to go through and rate some of those in this episode. We've also got, pleasure to say, Jack is back in the building after it's been a little while since we've had a pod, the three of us, the OG3. And Kanji couldn't make this one. So, Jack, great to see you. I hope you're well, mate.
Yeah, I'm doing really good. It's been about 74 years, so I'm back finally.
Yeah, it's like that meme. It's been 84 years.
84
that old
years.
Woman. But no, it's great to get you back, Jack. And yeah, you're in the sunny situation of the US of A, aren't you, right now?
Yes, I'm in sunny Los Angeles. I am. It's currently lunchtime here, and you guys are in dingy 8 p.m. in England, so I think I win the day.
Yeah, you definitely do with a background like that. For the
it's
audio,
not fake, look.
Yeah, it's not a fake background. For the audio listeners, it's quite the backdrop. If you see it on our YouTube, palm trees, lovely garden. I mean, you can't really go wrong. So great to get you back on as well, Chris. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you, Roberto. Yeah, I think Jack may have won the contest for the best background of any guest or host of the TFIT pod so far. So, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. It's gonna be a good one, and hopefully, this one will be a nice one for you to listen back to and watch, as well as looking through some of your drafts. We're all gonna update you on the last episode because I know that myself and Chris, I'm sure Kanji would say the same if he was on. We've been changing it a lot since that recording. When we recorded it on the 23rd, it came out on the 24th, and it feels like it's been a lot of time. A lot of things have happened since then. A lot of things have changed. Be interesting to see what other differences are and how much we have made those alterations. And we'll see Jack's draft as well. So getting a little insight into the sort of FPL manager he is. A few reminders. We've got Fantasy Football Fest coming up in less than 2 weeks. Just the Friday after this Friday coming up on the 15th of August at Vauxhall Beer Gardens, which is going to be great fun. There's been some great little announcements made with regards to that. And of course, as we like to do at the TFIT pod here, we will be finishing on a quiz, see how Jack can get on. The used to be quiz master. The master has turned into the apprentice now. And trying to fill those big shoes for Jack, the five-a-side goal scorer. It's not easy shoes to fill, but we will see how he can get on with that. And see if Chris is, back in the quiz momentum with his usual winnings. But before we do get to that, let's have a little, catch up of where we are. Firstly, Jack, how's life been? It's been a few sort of episodes, quite a few. I hope you're settling in the US of A. But what's it been like listening back? I hope you've heard maybe a few appearances from our recently appointed co-host Kanji.
Yeah, and speaking to him on, WhatsApp as well, he seems like a very nice guy. He's educated, which is something I can't say myself. So it's going to be interesting when I get to get my hands on him and I get to speak to him. I'm going to maybe learn some stuff. Maybe I'll become the best player of all time instead of being like 7 millionth in the world. There's not even that many players. No, but it's been good. You might have seen me making my solo TikToks again. I might make a little appearance on the TFIT ones. But I'm back and that feels good.
Feels good to get the
adults now.
Amigos. Yeah, exactly. I know we're all adults. We're all trying to find jobs, and we're trying to just do FPL on the side because it's what keeps us ticking, and we love it. So, talking of FPL and the pod this season, we are back with a mini league. So before we get into rating your drafts, we have got a mini league that you can join this season. And I know that previous seasons, Jack, you maybe not had the chance to join the league, but it'd be great if you could this season.
Yeah, you did it as the wrong kind of one, and I couldn't join after the last time.
Yeah, well, the great news is you can join right now. The code for you to join is nice and easy to remember as well, because I like to think that, we are a pod that likes to win silverware. Chris with his silverware winning the league last season. I had a few, mini league scalps and victories last season myself. So the code is we won RLM. Yes, we did win a lot of, podcasting successes, and hopefully some more into this season with the upcoming fantasy football content awards. Of course, the football content awards in November, and you have the power to help us get there in Leeds. See if we can get up there. But no, the code, just to repeat again, is we won RLM. So WE1 RLM. That's the number 1. And yeah, it will be a really good, fun mini league, I'm sure, again this season, Chris. I'm already looking forward to it. The head-to-head system is always exciting. It's great to see some new faces joining the league as well. Have you got your name registered already?
I have indeed. Yeah, as soon as you dropped that code, I was right in there. I mean, I feel a bit scared in some ways. I'm trying to defend my crown, and yeah, I'm being chased. It's not a nice feeling, but yeah, like you said, it looks like the league has expanded this year, so we're going to have a huge league of players playing, which is always great.
Yeah, exactly.
I just joined this second, so I'm in.
Love that from you, Jack. Yeah, no, the word has got out of the tense and exciting nature of the T-Fit League with that incredible relegation battle on the final day last season. And yes, the title race was a little bit of a foregone conclusion, a bit like Liverpool in the Premier League last season. But the new season, new chances to excite and to compete. And yeah, we got some great names in there already. The likes of David Favour, great name that one. Jeff Hutchinson. We got people from all over Oz, from lots of different places around the world. We got players
from Oz. That's crazy that he's made it this far.
We got players from Nigeria. We got players in the mini league from Kenya. We're going all around. So it's great to see so many people and some familiar faces as well. The likes of Colm Boogler and Stuart Davies. Some regulars as well. So still time to join that mini league before the game deadline. So now we are going to get into rating some of your drafts that you sent in. So we'll get into the first one. And this one really is one we got sent in. And with each of them, we sort of was given a little bit of a context, a little bit of sort of information about, what's the situation. So it's really helpful. And thanks for those that did send them in. The first one we've got, that I'm just going to pop up now on the screen, came from Chewy FPL. So Chewy's got a mix of sort of DEFCON, so that's for the abbreviation, geeks in the room, the defensive contributions.
Yeah, my hand was instantly up. Sir, what does that mean?
So we've got AFCON this season, and we've also got DEFCON. So defensive contributions.
Such a crazy way of saying.
Got attacking threat, clean sheet security in his team. And also 6 to 7 players that will rotate between sort of the 4 starting spots as well. After bench boost, he wants to spread funds around sort of towards the 11 and hopefully get some price rises, because that is a thing we often see in teams at the start of the season, sort of trying to maximize value on players that maybe have more chance of rising in price. So here is a Chewy's team we've got up. So it's got Sanchez in goal. Then it's got a back 3 of Tarkowski, Murillo, Juve of West Ham, and then a midfield 5 of Cole Palmer, Iliman Ndiaye, Daniel Marlon, who's been doing well in pre-season for Aston Villa, Mo Salah, not Cyrus Christie, is it? No, it's Ryan Christie. And then a front 2 of Ollie Watkins and Dominic Solanke, who I've heard is nursing a bit of an injury at the moment, but we'll wait and see with that. Also on the bench is for Chewy, Kinski, Gabriel, Strand Larsen, and Dorgu for Manchester United. So initial thoughts on this one, Chris?
Yeah, I do like parts of it. I'm a big fan of Diouf after watching his performance yesterday for West Ham, albeit obviously the summer series and pre-season, but he looks quite a threat going forward. And obviously there's a lot of people clamouring for Wan-Bissaka. He could be a nice little differential when it comes to West Ham defenders. He's obviously got the DEFCON points covered there with Tarkowski and Murillo, both ranked so highly last season. And yeah, to be honest, I can't really pick much fault with this team. I've got Njai as well in mind currently, and I think he's a really good pick for that first game against Leeds. The only one probably is Christie that jumps out, but I'm wondering whether he might be going to fantasy first because he might want a Bournemouth player in his team. I know I'm certainly of that persuasion. So yeah, but also, I really like it. It's quite well balanced as well, and he's got a good bench as well for the rotation he's looking for, and if he's wanted to bench boost early.
Yeah, it is a very strong bench with Gabriel and Strand Larsen there. It's interesting, isn't it? Because we talked a bit about the defensive contributions in the last episode with Kanji. But for me, Jack, I'm not too keen on Tarkowski. I just think, although he is, a monster for that sort of point scoring with the defensive contributions, I mean, he didn't look great in the game the other night against Manchester United, gave away a penalty and was a little bit rash at times. But the thing with Tarkowski is I think that price for him is just a little bit too much for my liking. I think 5.5 is a lot for an Everton defender. When you think you can get, Mikalenko, for instance, at 5 million, I think it's just maybe just a bit too much money. And I don't really see much value in Everton defence at the start, just because they are usually a team that take a while to get going. Despite that good Leeds fixture, after that, it's a little bit of a sort of average fixture run. So do you agree with me on that? Do you think Tarkowski, you're not too keen on him?
Yeah, I think the fact that he's gone with the defensive contributions already with Murillo, I think 5.5 doesn't really scream. I don't know. I'm not too big of a fan unless one of them is going to be really attacking, one of them's really defensive. Like, I think Juve, if he plays, he'll be great. But then if he doesn't, you've got two defenders, and if they do not get the defensive contribution points, you're getting nothing here from your defense. If they concede, you're getting absolutely nothing. So the fact that he's not got even like a Van Dijk or someone like a Munoz that could also get an attacking contribution, because people don't understand they still can get assists. They've not been removed from the game,
Yeah. And also, it's much easier now, especially for the fullbacks. Although they have a chance of being subbed off and they're less likely to get those defensive contributions because it's not really in the fullbacks sort of game. They are also, as you said, assists is easier to get this season with the whole change to the way assists be scored. So, players like Munoz, who I think is being overlooked in a lot of drafts just because of that sort of tricky run of the fixtures. I mean, Palace are a great side and they've shown it in pre-season, but the fixtures don't look great for Palace. I think that's probably the reason for it. But yeah, as you say, I'm not too keen on Tarkowski. Now, Murillo, I like a bit more just because, Chris, he's a very solid option. We know that defensive contributions will be great for him. And he hasn't got maybe the same amount of goal threat at the same price as Milenkovic. But do you like Murillo? The fixtures for Forest are looking quite nice, but they've not looked too good in pre-season so far, have they? A little bit sort of stale in that regard.
Yeah, I guess it's how much you read into that performance. I think, obviously, I agree with you, Roberto. I think Milenkovic obviously offers the greater threat going forward. Murillo, as great as he is for defensive contribution points, does Milenkovic's goal threat kind of outweigh Murillo's defensive contribution potential? I think there's other Nottingham Forest defenders who possibly are better than both. I like Neco Williams a lot at 0.5 cheaper. He is probably the least nailed out of their defence. Obviously, they've got Olaraina as well, who I know Roberto has fond memories of owning him early on in the season last year.
He's getting overlooked though again.
He is.
I think for the right reason, because out of the back four, I think the one I'd least want to pick is probably Aina this season, just because of the defensive contributions. And I know that Aina was the highest scoring one last season, but I just don't think he's got the same amount of attacking threat. And
his underlying data isn't as impressive.
No.
I think he overperformed quite massively last season, whereas Williams, like towards the back end of last season, was looking very encouraging. It's just like I said, it's just whether he's nailed as left back, because he obviously ended the season really strongly, but you never know with the competition they have in those places.
What's your thought?
Sorry, carry on, Roberto.
No, I was just going to say, what's your thoughts on Forest as a defence? Do you think they are going to be as good as last season?
If I'm completely honest, I'm not a massive fan of the Forest defenders at the moment. I think people need to be looking at the bigger clubs that are going to get clean sheets as well. I mean, going all in on defensive contributions is fine, but like, as I said, it's people are thinking that's the only way to get points now. Like, there's people that have got like Caicedo and Elliot Anderson and like other players in the same midfield, and it's like, when you've got players like you could go for a Liverpool defender for 0.5 more, or you could go for a Man City defender for even the same price. Or there's 5.5 defenders there for clubs that aren't probably going to even be in the top 10 this year. Like Forest are probably going to drop off, and Everton are probably going to be around 10th, maybe like 9th or whatever. I can't see any clean sheet potential apart from Sanchez there, if I'm completely honest.
Yeah, I like Sanchez as a pick. I think Chelsea's fixes are good. I've come around to it a bit more than I did in the last episode, I have to say. But I do think, like, because you can get into that Chelsea defense at a nice budget when Cucurella is expensive. It is a sensible way. And
there is another way to do that, and it will come to my team in a minute. So,
well, I wonder if it might be the player I had in one of my previous drafts, but we'll get to that. The midfield, I mean, I'm not a massive fan of it, to be honest, from my point of view, because I do think Njai is getting a little bit overly hyped. I've seen him in a lot of people's drafts just because he's got Leeds, maybe. That might be a factor. I know he scored against Man United, but, a lot of players can score against your Man United. So, no, but with Njai, like, I know he's got penalty duty, but for the same price, I just prefer backing a better attack, in my opinion.
Also, don't Everton get no penalties as well?
Yeah, exactly. This is the problem. Like, will they win? How many will they win? And for the same price or even cheaper, you can get a Kudus, or you could get a 6 million or a 5.5, from a better team like a Nottingham Forest, for instance. I rate them more highly. So like someone like an Ndoye or a Hudson Odoi, they just feel a bit better for me. And then Christie, I'm not too convinced. I mean, I've seen a few people talk about.
How much is he?
I mean, he's quite cheap, to be fair. I think he is in the sort of 5 million, 5.5 bracket. And I've seen a few people talk about the defensive contributions players like your Andersons and your Caicedos. But I'm not too convinced on Christie because, such a tough game to start off with. And I think if you're going to back a Bournemouth attacker in that game, you're going to just go for Semenyo. But I see the logic because fixtures for Bournemouth aren't awful. 5 million for Christie is also not the worst price, but I just don't think 2 goals and 3 assists last season, and then you add in some of the defensive contribution points, but I still don't think it's going to be that spectacular.
You can get Dingra, the starting winger for Sunderland, for like 0.5 more, so it's like,
yeah,
or even like some of the Man City midfielders. Do you know what I mean?
Or even at the same price, you can get Enzo Lefebvre at Sunderland, who's got a bit more attacking threat than Christie, and although he won't get the defensive contribution points, he's
we're
going
scared of Sunderland, though, aren't we? We're scared of you.
I don't know. I think tapping into a couple might be all right. But yeah, I mean, Watkins and Solanke there, Chris, is an interesting front line. And I think a lot of people have got Watkins because of how good Villa's fixtures are. But do you think Solanke is worth the risk? Because there are kind of rumblings of him. He's not been playing much in pre-season at all for Tottenham. Do you think you'd take the risk, or would you wait to see him sort of get good confirmation from Thomas Frank?
Yeah, exactly that. I think you've got to wait for I don't know how many more preseason fixtures they have, but then that last one before their first Premier League fixture is probably the most crucial to see kind of how he's faring fitness-wise, if he comes off the bench or whether he starts. So yeah, it's a bit of a TBC with him, but if he is fit, I think he should be in most people's drafts, to be honest, game week 1. I think Tottenham's fixture is just so good to start the season. And with Burnley at home, first game as well, it could be great. But he needs to get some minutes in pre-season, really, to justify it.
Yeah, I mean, Spurs' fixtures are good game week 1, but then it's Man City. So, you could maybe look at that as not
but
too
Spurs own Man City, so it's all right.
Yeah, you say that, but Man City might be stronger this season. I don't know. They'll have Rodri back, and we'll have to see. But like 4.0 keeper, like Kinski, I'm not convinced he'll be starting. I think it will be Vicario. So I think, for 4.0 goalkeepers, you're either looking at Darlow, who potentially might play for Leeds because, they got their new keeper in. I think Petri is not 100%, confirmed starting for the Everton game. So maybe you could get lucky with Darlow, but then that might be a transfer waiting to happen. But, not that it matters on your bench. But another 4.0 keeper that, maybe is one to look out for is Dubravka, because there's been rumours of him going to Burnley. So, yeah, we could potentially, if Darlow does start against Everton, have 2 4.0 starting goalkeepers. But,
that's crazy.
People that remember the Ward and Everson days at Leicester will know that, it's probably not advisable to do that.
Just because they play doesn't mean they're going to get points.
Literally, yeah. Just because they're cheap doesn't necessarily mean they're probably cheap for a reason. So all in all, Chris, if you had to rate this one from Chewy FPL out of 10, what would you say? I mean, it's packed full of defensive contribution defenders, and he's gone for a sort of a bench boost, kind of squad here. For he's not obviously activated it yet, but he might not do it game week 1. He said he might do it after. But do you think this is a good team overall?
Yeah, I like it. I think it's very solid, and particularly for the strategy he's embarking on with the bench boost early. I think it's a good squad. I think, like we've alluded to, there could be a couple of slight changes. Maybe Tarkowski can be downgraded to possibly a different Everton defender or someone cheaper from a different team. Murillo as well is maybe a question mark, but he's still a good pick for defensive contributions. And then Christie is maybe the only like kind of glaring question mark in the team. But I'd give it like 7.5, 8 maybe.
Yeah, I do like it. I think 7.5 is fair. I mean, Marlon is a bit of a question mark whether or not he'll be nailed, because he's, him and Buendia and McGinn and, Tielemans, all these players will be competing for the same
last
spot.
season, though. He was really
He
liked.
was. Yeah, he had good moments, but I'm just worried that there'd be too many players competing for one spot. You've got players like Ramsey, you've got players like Buendia. There's a lot of options for those Villa spots, and I just not.
And is a double up on Villa too much?
I don't think it is. Honestly, I don't think it is. But I think the double up you would want there is Rodgers and Watkins. Yeah. I don't think Marlon is gonna get enough minutes for it to warrant it. But we might see him sort of start more games, but it might just be a transfer waiting to happen. So I think ultimately there's good bench depth here, which I think saves Chewy a little bit. But I'm not too keen on some of the starters. Ironically, I think I'd play Gabriel over Christie, for instance, and potentially even Larson. So I for me, I think this is a 7 out of 10. What about you, Jack?
Oh, really? I was going to give it a 6 if I'm completely honest. Only because if we're talking game week 1, I don't think it's a good game week 1 bench boost as much as it is a game week 2 bench boost, because Arsenal have do they have Leeds game week 2?
That's correct.
So
yeah.
If you are leaving Gabriel on the bench, they've got Leeds, and Man United have got Fulham, which is definitely an easier game than Arsenal. So I think if you're going to bench boost, it's got to be game week 2, and Gabriel's got to be starting in this team, man. Like, I know that Tarkowski and Murillo have maybe easier games than United, but Arsenal's defense is one of the best in the league, and you can't really shake that. So, and Gabriel's goal threat as well is way more than 2 out of 3 defenders.
Yeah, we'll have to see on Gabriel. There was potential murmurings of him having an injury sort of concern, but we'll hear that more news from Arteta closer to the deadline. So nice one, Chewy. Thanks for sending your draft in. The next one we've got up is a draft from Mika Sharma. So Mika has explained his thinking here. He's saying he liking the Liverpool attack for an opening sort of 5. Quite a bit, which is interesting, because the sort of first 3 are tough for Liverpool, with Liverpool facing Arsenal and Newcastle in there. But I understand it with the new look attack with some of their signings. He could make changes in game week 6. I've seen a few people rumouring about potentially a free hit in game week 6 to try and get in Haaland for the Burnley game, and this is what Mika's thinking. Maybe potentially could maybe a wild card or a free hit around then. Removing Salah could be interesting, but Bruno, I think has better fixtures then. Plan for now is for Mika to not bench boost early on, because he's unsure that whether or not Mark Guiu does start in the game week 2 plum fixture against Burnley, or whether Esteve keeps the clean sheet. That will be interesting if people go for Dubravka in game week 2 bench boost, whether or not he actually does make the move and is double Burnley defense on a bench boost. Not too keen on that personally. But Eze and Tarkowski over Van de Ven and Wirtz is a bit of a sort of 50-50 decision for Mika to try and sort of work out. So we'll have a little look. It's an interesting sort of decision for Mika here. So this is the team he's gone with. I'll read it out for the audio. So he's got Sanchez and Bentley. So you can clearly see he's not intending to bench boost too soon. Then a back 5 of Van de Ven, Virgil van Dijk, Nico Williams, Richards from Crystal Palace, which I like that, Chris Richards. A little defensive contribution option there. And Esteve as well for Burnley, who's one of the better 4.0 options likely to play. Then a midfield of Rodgers, Salah, Wirtz, Palmer, and there he is, Elliot Anderson of Nottingham Forest for 5.5 million, and then a front 3 of Solanke, Watkins again, and then Mark Guiu after his potential move to Sunderland. So if you're looking at this, Chris, what are you thinking? Do you think this is a better squad than we saw with Chewy last time out, or do you think do you think there could be a few improvements made here?
It's very close to call. I think slightly better. I like his defense. Like you said, Chris Richards, he's a bit of a defensive contribution points magnet, isn't he?
Yeah.
And at the price point he is in a solid defense like Palace, I think he could be a great option. I guess there's some question marks over whether Palace go into the market to get another centre half who might replace him. But as it stands, I think he's a great pick. Spoke about Neco Williams already. I think he may be the pick of the Forest defenders. Murillo is great, but I just think Williams to save that 0.5 could be really good. And yeah, I really like it. I think it's quite solid. Anderson, I'm not sure what you guys think. I've seen him in a few drafts. I mean, obviously he ranked quite highly.
To goals as well. That's the thing. Like on the off, he does.
I mean, it's very occasional though, isn't it? Like for 5.5, as you were saying, Jack, you could go for someone a bit more attacking, like an Adingra or even a Harry Wilson at Fulham. So yeah, I just think maybe Anderson is getting a little bit overhyped because of the defensive contribution points. But, he is fairly nailed. He does play most games, and the fixtures for Forest are quite good to start. But it's just how much can you rely on that defensive contributions, Jack? Do you think that puts you off it?
It's not just that. I just think Forest have put me off at the minute. I really need to see how Forest are going to perform as a whole team, because I know they got they missed out on top 4 last season, but no one was expecting them to get top 4. Is anyone expecting them to go in the top 4 again this season? I don't think any of us are, if I'm being completely honest. They're probably going to be up there again, but they were very lucky to do how well that they did last season. Props to them. But it seems like there's problems behind the scenes with the owner, that might affect how the players are doing. I mean, we've all seen the video of Gibbs White signing his contract where he looks like he's been held at gunpoint, right? There's something's not right with Forest at the minute. And I think I want to see Neco Williams, and all of the Forest defenders and midfielders before I get any of them in my team.
Yeah, that's fair. I think there are some sort of Forest assets that could sort of, as the second half of the season comes around, become great options and become, great value. Players like Ndoye, who they've signed, and, potentially other options as well. Igor Jesus as sort of a striking complement to Chris Wood. But interesting, because I'm not too keen on Anderson myself. In terms of the defense, you mentioned it earlier with Richards, Chris. Do you think Van de Ven is a good pick? Because obviously Spurs, we know, the last few seasons have been really poor defensively. Do you think Frank can get them playing a bit more sort of solid and a bit more conservative?
Well, if pre-season, and you can't really take pre-season too seriously, I guess they've looked a lot more solid. But judging by what he did at Brentford, they're quite an expansive team. They were at Brentford, and they didn't keep a lorry load of clean sheets. So I think maybe to start the season, Spurs defenders may struggle to maybe adapt his methods, but I think as the season progresses, they'll become a better defense to invest in. But at that price point, 4.5 million for a big despite what happened to them last season in the Premier League, they're still one of the best teams in this league. So I think him, Udogie at 4.5 million is a nice way into that Spurs defense to start the season with the favourable fixtures. I don't know which one would be preferable though.
I think I'd prefer. I mean, Van de Ven, I think, doesn't have as much goal threat as Udogie, maybe, but I think Udogie is kind of currently nursing a little knock. So maybe Van de Ven just for security of minutes. But it's a tricky one, isn't it? Because we talked earlier about Tarkowski, Jack. And this is one of Micah's sort of deliberations. Do you go a bit more expensive in that defensive slot and go for a Tarkowski and then have like a cheaper one with an Eze, or go for a more expensive? Alongside Van de Ven, he's got Wirtz in here in the midfield. Would you prefer Eze and Tarkowski, or do you think Van de Ven and Wirtz would be your preference?
I think what he's got at the minute, it would be my preference. I think he's got Wirtz. I mean, he's not a premium, but if he plays like he did in the Bundesliga, he's going to get points like a premium. I think stacking out the midfield, because we don't know how big defensive contributions are going to be, because we've only compared it to last season. I think stacking out the midfield and up front is what I've done. So Virgil's a good shout because he's going to get you points no matter what. But yes, someone like Tarkowski, I'm still not fully sold on yet.
Yeah. Well, you said, Chris, that you thought Micah's was slightly better than Chewy's. So is that going to reflect in your rating out of 10?
Yeah, I think an 8. I'd give it an 8 this draft. I think it's good.
Okay, I'm going to go for a 7 again. I think it's got potential. I really like the midfield outside of Anderson. I think Wirtz, Palmer, Rogers all really good. I do like the defense as well. I think Virgil and Richards and Van der Ven are really solid options. I'm just not too keen on having Esteve in there at the moment because I just not he mentioned about potential starting him in game week 2 against Sunderland. I'm just not so sure we can bank on Burnley this early, but we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, the team is pretty well balanced. I'm going to go for a 7. What about you, Jack?
After giving the last one a 6, I'm feeling a bit more generous with this one. If I'm honest, this team resonates with me a lot more than the first team did. Just because you've got players like Rodgers and Watkins and Salah that have all proved themselves. There's a less of a risk. I mean, Anderson's still a risk, but Van der Ven got points when he played. Virgil got points when he played. I think not doing the bench boost, like he said, is probably the right thing to do for now. So I'm going to go with a 7.5 because I think not bench boosting. If you're looking at the solid starting 11, it is pretty solid. So I'm going to go with the 7.5.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, great stuff. Thanks for that draft from Mika Sharma. The next one we've got is from FPL MV. So really interesting strategy for FPL MV, who we had on last season on the pod. He said he's playing this year with only nationalities that have won the World Cup ahead of
all English, full English
next
team.
year. Full English, yeah. I'm not sure he will have gone as far back as 66, but you never know. Maybe he's gone more recent, but he's got 0.5 in the bank in this draft. So, yeah, let's bear that in mind when we look at this team. But certainly an interesting little sort of lineup here. So we'll read it through for the audio again. So Sanchez and Bentley are the 2 goalkeepers. So, again, you would imagine not a bench boost 1 game week draft here. Game week 1. So back 5, Lacroix, Gabriel, Konza, Murillo, Tarkovsky. We've seen a few of those names already. Konza's a new one. Midfield, Wirtz, Eze, Palmer, Rodri from Man City, and Saka. And then a front 3 of Solanke, Watkins. Those 2 have been popular. And Ashley Barnes is a 4.5.
Barnes, what a throwback.
I don't think he's going to start. I'm afraid to break it to you there. But interesting little draft there from MV. He's gone with
lots of English.
Some differentials there. What are you thinking with that one, Jack? I mean, Rodri in there is a little differential.
Yeah, I mean, defensive contributions are kind of his thing, right? So he probably is. What is he? I can't see his price there because it's a bit blurry, but
yeah, it's just looking at it, it's 6.5 for Rodri.
6. So this is 5. It does seem like quite a lot when you get someone like Kudus for that price. If he was 5.5 again, like he was not too long ago, I think Rodri would be a bit of a steal, to be honest. If he was the same price as Elliot Anderson, for God's sake. But it's one of those where he's not got the premiums because they've not won the World Cup. So I think that it works well. I think the midfield looks a bit more stacked overall because you've got Wirtz, you've got 4 players that are over 8 million, 3 players in the midfield that are over 8 million. And then you've still managed to get Watkins in there and Gabriel. So it's like players that are almost a premium. You've got loads of them. So I think it's a solid team. I think it's a different strategy to what most people are doing when Salah's probably going to get as many points as last season. I mean, he won't. But don't love it. I like it.
I'm not too much of a fan, I'm afraid, on this one, MV, because I just think, going without Salah, I know that he's put that restriction on him, but Haaland, for instance, not having him because Norway have not won the World Cup, that's a little bit risky. I think not having either of them, I'm just not too keen on that. I think there's no real sort of premium outside of Saka and Palmer that you could sort of look at for captaincy. So it means that captaincy maybe is a little bit trickier to sort of hang your hat on anyone. And I'm not a massive fan, if I'm honest, of Konza. I just think Aston Villa defense. I just don't think we can rely on it. I mean, the fixtures are good, aren't they, Chris? But, even they did end defensively quite well last season. But in a lot of the good fixtures early on last season, we had, people picking Konza. And a lot of games, Villa were just letting in goals. Do you think, and Konza's not great either for the defensive contributions. So would you sort of swerve him or do you like the look of him?
Well, I think Villa's defence did improve quite markedly in the last kind of 10 games of last season. Underlying data as well. They were like the strongest in the league over the last 10 games. So I think they definitely turned a corner in that respect. But I see what you mean. They did still leak the odd goal here and there. And Konza, although I have really fond memories of owning him last season, I think there's possibly better Aston Villa defenders to go for because, like you say, he doesn't really contribute with the defensive actions. So, yeah. But with the fixtures, I can see why he's looking into that avenue of getting a Villa defender.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. We talked about, Palace defense earlier and how they do sort of start quite slowly and gone for Eze in there, has MV. Do you think Eze will start the season like, because last season, he started very slowly, Jack, didn't he? So do you think he's one that people are sort of overlooking at 7.5 million?
Eze, you saying?
Yeah.
Sorry. I think they are overlooking him because he was. I mean, there was talks of him going to Man City, and stuff like that. So I think he is their star man as well as Mateta. But when you think of Crystal Palace, I personally think of Eze or Munoz because I'm a little rat who likes fullback. But Eze is one of those where he's just like he just his magic. Like any game, they could be 4-0 down, but he'll still get 2 goals. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And isn't he on
yeah, I mean, the thing is, Palace are I'm just not too. I prefer Mateta over Eze, I think.
How much is Mateta this year?
Yeah, I mean, Mateta's done well. He's 7.5 this year, so he has done well in pre-season. But again, with Eze, are
you choosing him over Solanke? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, for 0.5 cheaper than Eze, you can get Rodgers or Semenyo, and I just prefer both of them. So,
or 0.5 more than Rodri. I think that's where he's really going wrong here. I'd probably go for because didn't he say he has 0.5 in the bank?
He has, yeah. So you could go, Semenyo
or something like that. Yeah,
Semenyo. Or Rodgers. Yeah, definitely in place of Rodri. Okay, well, that's interesting. In terms of rating, then, Chris, what are you thinking for this one?
Oh, I think 6.5 for me. I think with this one.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but I'm gonna go to a 5.5. Sorry, MV, but not a fan of this one personally. Without Salah and without, I'm just not a massive fan of that midfield and defense. The strike force is all right if you just bench Barnes every week and hope that Solanke's fit. But yeah, outside of that, not a massive fan. What about you, Jack?
I think Ashley Barnes is going to be the new Chris Wood. Actually, that's going to be my.
What is your thing with Burnley strikers? Honestly,
my thing is with big donkey strikers. I love Andy Carroll. I love Olivier Giroud. But I don't mind this draft as much as Roberto does. I'm going to give it a 6.5. I think rather than going all the way down to a 5.5.
Yeah,
but he's got some good players there. It's not going to get you 0 points. Do you know what I mean? But he's got all the popular players like Konsa and Gabriel and Sanchez. So he's still doing okay. He's not shit.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, so we move on to the next team, and this one comes from Akib, FPL_Akib 48, and he's explained that there's no money left in the bank in this one. Unfortunately, he's been robbed blind. So we've got an interesting little team here. We'll just we'll get it up and we'll go through it for the audio. So Trafford in goal in this one, which is obviously a recent move from Burnley to Man City, and I'm not too confident in that one because he's got Kinski as his 4.0 backup, and we don't know for sure that Trafford will start. I think
so that's Trafford, 2 keepers that aren't going to play to start as half. Right?
Yeah, this is the thing. I think Trafford will be the number 2 to start with. I think, and have to earn his place because I don't think Ederson will. He won't want to be sort of benched. Yeah. He would have left probably
unless he goes to Saudi, which he might.
Yeah, I doubt. I was going to say he's banking on Ederson leaving really.
When the transfer window ends, it's like end of game week.
I don't think Ederson. I've seen reported from David Ornstein. I think Ederson is probably going to stay. So I think it's going to be a battle between them. But I would imagine
Scott
Ederson.
Carson. Scott Carson might be in there.
No, he's gone. Unfortunately, he's gone now.
Bettinelli's then.
Bettinelli. Yeah.
The goat.
Yeah, Bettinelli's now the new Scott Carson. But yeah, interesting goalkeepers there because I'm not confident on Kinski either. Then a back 5 starting back 4 of De Kuyper, Tarkowski, Konza, and Destiny Udogie, who we mentioned earlier might have a potential injury, but we'll have to wait and see on that. Midfield of Wirtz, Ndiaye, Salah, Palmer, which we sort of discussed before. And then up front, 2 9 million forwards, which is an interesting squad structure. Watkins, who we've discussed, and then Victor Gyökeres is in.
This is so interesting.
This is really interesting because if you look at the bench, I mean, it's a bench of Krupi Jr., who's a 4.5 forward for
That
Bournemouth.
sounds like sort of a word that you can't say anymore. Oh, Krupi Jr. You know what I mean? Like,
Literally. So him as a 4.5 forward, a Stev 4.0 defender, and then John Arias, who joined from Fluminense, a really exciting player. He looked great in the Club World Cup for them. And yeah, he's going to do, I think, quite well, I would imagine. But he's signed from
how much is he?
Wolves. He's 5'5", so pretty decent value.
I don't mean his height, mate.
Yeah, I mean he played really well in the Club World Cup, so we'll have to see. Thoughts on this one, Chris? I mean, it's interesting with the 2 9 million forwards there, and having no sort of, they've gone quite cheap at the back, but no nice midfield in there as well.
Yeah, I like the midfield. I think the defence, we've talked about a lot of these players. De Cooper is an interesting one at Brighton. He was in my initial first draft, and if he can replicate the kind of attacking threat he showed at Club Brugge, I think he could be a great asset that does go under the radar a bit at the start of the season. Maybe a bit risky, seeing as he's a new signing, trying to acclimatise into the league. But yeah, I quite like it, to be honest. Gyökeres, obviously, the high-profile signing for Arsenal.
We don't know. We don't know.
Yeah, we don't know whether he'll start against United. I think
Havertz might.
Yeah. I think it's a risky one. I guess if he does get some minutes against United, then he could start against Leeds, though, which would be really nice because he could be great. Because I don't imagine many people are going to own him going into game week 1. So he could be a really nice kind of differential.
He could bully Leeds as well. Like, if
I mean, that might just save a transfer if he gets 30 minutes off the bench against Man United and everyone flocks towards him if he scores against United, which is probably written in the stars after United tried to get him. It would be saving a transfer in a way. But yeah, then the problem is after Leeds, it's a terrible run of fixtures again for Arsenal. So I'm not too sure. It's tricky, yeah. And as you say, he's done incredible things in Liga NOS in the Portuguese league, but we see it with some players where they just take to the league like a duck to water, with Bruno Fernandes being a great example, and then other players like Darwin Núñez, absolutely flopping. So we'll have to see. But yeah,
absolutely.
I have to be honest, I'm not a massive fan of this squad structure. I think it just leaves it maybe a little bit inflexible on the bench, just having those, a 4.0 and a 4.5. I mean, you could use Arias as your sort of main sub each week, but if there's more than one injury in this team, I think it starts to get a little bit sort of bare bones.
You won't be bench boosting anytime soon with this.
No, that's for sure.
Unless Arias is on 20 points a week, I don't think it's really.
Yeah. What would you rate this one, Jack, out of 10?
I mean, it's definitely different. I've also noticed that he's kind of structured it as if it's a 4-4-2. Like, he's got 2 centre backs, 2 full backs, and then he's got 2 wingers in Salah and Ndiaye. And I don't hate it. I think if he uses Gyökeres for the first couple of games, he could then price down to someone like Strand Larsen or like Solanke and get that bench up a bit. So I think if he manages it well, I think this could be a good team. I'm probably going to go for a 7 on this. I don't hate it, but he's definitely like on Twitter chronically, which is why he's got De Kuiper and which is why he's got Konsa and it's why he's got Ndiaye. This is the people that only follow FPL accounts on Twitter, and it's all they see.
Yeah, no, I have to say, the more I'm looking at this team, the more I like it, because it's different. The 2 forward at 9 million is a nice approach, because you could look at it and say, well, you could go for split the money a bit and go for a 7.5 like a Joao Pedro or a Solanke or a Chris Wood. But actually, people might be sort of scrambling for Gyökeres and not want to sell Watkins.
It's a big if.
Yeah, Watkins might be on fire at the start of the season, and then people want to get Gyökeres and will have to sell Watkins. In this scenario, you kind of started with the 2 most sort of in-demand, high price outside of Haaland. So yeah, it makes logical sense.
And you know what? Like if he does need to, like, if it does happen, this is a big one. He is only like $1.5 million away from Isak if he needs to go up. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, obviously depending on where
nothing happens. If nothing happens.
We don't want him to end up at Liverpool and then he misses the first 2 games because he's not sort of got ready fit yet. So this is the thing. Players, if they don't have much of a pre-season, it can be tricky. But yeah, no, I do quite like this one more than I actually expected me to like it. So I'm going to give this one an 8, actually. I think the only changes I'd make were just maybe downgrading Tarkovsky and upgrading the bench a little bit just to kind of give it a few more options. But what about you, Chris?
I'd give it a 7. I think Trafford in goal for me is a huge risk. I think.
Oh, yeah, true.
Yeah, I unless Edison leaves, but as you said, Roberto, it looks like as it stands, he's set to stay. I think to not then have a goalkeeper in reserve on your bench is just it's a transfer waiting to happen, really.
Yeah, I mean, at 5 million, there's so many good goalkeepers at 5 million. You could go for Sells, you could go for Nick Pope if you really wanted to, although the fixtures aren't great for Newcastle. You could even go for like
4.5 as well.
Yeah, 4.5. I mean, there's not too many 4.5s, but you could maybe go for just go simple and spend less money and go for a Kelleher at Brentford. So yeah, I like it. I do like it. But yeah, there's a couple of tweaks I'd make in that one. So thanks for sending that one in, Akib. The next one we've got comes from Wit FPL. He's attached his team, and it's an interesting little one here because he's gone for a 3-5-2 formation in this one. We'll just get it up now for us to have a little look at. So Sanchez in goal, a back three of Wan-Bissaka, Van de Ven, and Nico Williams. A midfield, this is a little different midfield.
Wow.
Salah and Jai, Palmer, Bruno Fernandes, and Reinders from Man City. And then a front two of Ollie Watkins and Jared Bowen with a bench of Dubravka, who we mentioned might be a good 4.0 to have, Mark Guiu, Collins, and Gay. So a few different options here, Chris. It's quite refreshing to see Reinders in here. Obviously 5.5 in the game, so he could make a good mockery of that price if he is regularly sort of getting starts and maybe some attacking returns, but I'm not so sure. Will he replicate the kind of returns he got from an offensive point of view he got at AC Milan in this Man City team, do you think?
Yeah, it's a difficult one. I think it's a very brave decision. I mean, you see with often Man City signings trying to kind of adjust to Pep's system that they often take a season to kind of get used to the demands of his kind of methods. So I'd be surprised if he really takes like a duck to water to his system. But if he does, he could be a really good asset at that price point. And City's fixtures aren't bad to start the season as well. So I'd probably lean towards other assets in that price point at the moment. But there's a bit of a rogue differential. It's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, Bruno Fernandes, Jack, has had a decent little pre-season in the Premier League Summer Series. 3 goals over the 3 games. Scored a great penalty. I mean, he's always great at penalties, but even with the likes of Cunha and Bumo in that side, there's no doubt Bruno's the man for the spot kicks, and he is going to be good for defensive contributions. So, do you like Bruno as an asset, despite the fixtures looking quite tricky for Man United to start with?
Yeah. I mean, he's good. The only thing I would say is the fact that they've got those 2 new players. He's going to be pushed back now. He's going to be back there with Casemiro or whoever it's going to be, probably him or Ugarte, right? I think, he's good. I think I do like Reinders. I do think he's good as well. Just because with Man City, players score from all over the pitch. It's not just like they're relying on Chris Wood as a striker. Do you know what I mean? It's like they have a Haaland, but also every single player in that team gets goals. Do you know what I mean? So he's always having a Man City player, and I think he's going to play quite a lot alongside Rodri, right? Because he's very highly rated. He costs quite a bit of money. I mean, so did the rest of their team. But if he plays, Reinders is good, and Bruno Fernandes is great. This is a good team.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I mean, Wan-Bissaka, we've talked about in the last episode, very solid defensive option. The bench is intriguing me, though, with this one, Chris, because Collins and Mark Gay, I mean, we've talked about Palace defence already, but do you think Brentford, with, a lot of the players they've lost from an offensive point of view, probably doesn't help, but they haven't lost anyone defensively. And obviously, they have got Sunderland game week 3. So do you like Collins? He's been given the captaincy armband by new manager as well. So do you think he's a decent little option? Sometimes pops up with goals.
Yeah, no, I don't hate it at all. I think last season he went under the radar a little bit, how well he did in terms of offensive contributions from set pieces. And as we know, Keith Andrews, he was the set piece coach for Brentford last season. So you'd imagine he's going to play quite a big onus on that side of the game for Brentford this season. And from set pieces, he's probably their biggest threat. So I really like Collins as an asset. I was toying with putting him in my draft, to be honest, as well. Gay, I'm not. I think Richards is a better pick than Gay at the same price. Slightly better underlying.
Gay 4.5.
Yeah, he's 4.5 Gay. But the problem with Gay is if he does move to Liverpool, you know, that you wouldn't want him to take up one of your Liverpool spots potentially as as
unless he's already in.
Yeah, this is the thing. Well,
I like his other bench options.
Yeah,
Guiu, both good.
Yeah,
it's solid.
Bravka's a sensible one. I mean, Bowen is interesting because I'm just not as much of a big fan of Bowen because of the fact he's moved from a forward, midfielder to a forward. But he's always a talisman, regardless of fixtures. He pops up. What's interesting as well with Bowen, Jack, is 2 million cheaper than him. You could look at maybe a Fulkrug. Do you think that might be an option?
If I'm being honest, no, I don't think. I think Fulkrug's maybe run his time. I could be completely wrong. But Bowen was good last season. What did he get? He got 34 starts last season. Pretty good. He got 13 goals, 11 assists. I think you can't really overlook that. Even from a striker's perspective, that is still good numbers. And I don't even think he was on pens, right? Paqueta was on pens. So
he's not on pens. That's the thing. But to be fair, West Ham didn't win a lot of pens across the season anyway.
Well, that's 24 goal contributions in 34 starts. That's still really good for an 8 million player. If that was a midfielder, you'd be all over him.
Yeah, that's true. And I suppose as well, the fact they've now signed Callum Wilson maybe might threaten Fulkrug's minutes a little bit off the bench. But we'll have to see. It might be a sort of Wilson situation like when he was at Newcastle and he's taking minutes off Fulkrug. But we'll have to see.
Bowen's going to start, isn't he? Right, Bowen's always going to start for that team.
Yeah, Bowen's going to start probably on the wing, though, you'd think. And I think maybe Fulkrug gets the start and then Wilson comes on to sort of give some competition maybe, and we'll see how that one develops. But
which is why I wouldn't get Fulkrug. You've answered my question.
Fair enough. I think Fulkrug has looked quite sharp though in pre-season. But I prefer the other West Ham assets like Wan-Bissaka and Juve, because Juve looked fantastic against that, in that really sort of good deliveries he put in the game against Bournemouth. So I quite like maybe the occasional West Ham player, but we have to factor in their fixtures are quite tricky. I quite like this team, actually. I think the midfield is different. I like Bruno as a pick because he is pretty fixture proof. Reinder's not as keen, but the defense I really do like with Wan-Bissaka and Williams. And I like Bowen because of the fact he's just always there. He's a talisman. There's a bit of depth on the bench as well. So I'm going to go for an 8 for this one, I think. This is a very strong one, in my opinion. What about you, Chris?
I'll go the same. Yeah, I think an 8 is fair for this draft. I think it's very solid all round. I like his bench. Maybe switch Gay for Richards, but elsewhere there's not really much fault to be picked with it.
Jack, would you agree?
Yeah, I'm actually going to go as far as a 9. This is by far my favorite draft, if I'm being completely honest. The thing I think is he doesn't have many headaches here. He's got Salah as his obvious captain option when he's got a decent fixture. And, in the week Salah doesn't have anything good. On the second and third, he's got 2 red fixtures. Palmer comes in and then Bruno comes in. They both have a green fixture on those 2 weeks. So if he needs a different captain, he's planned really well. And the bench is sort of, it covers him anyway because they're all going to play, right? I mean, if Gui goes to Sunderland anyway.
Yeah, Guiu, I don't know if he'll be a starter straight away, I would imagine, because Mayenda and Isidore are both very good options, and I think he probably will start off as an impact sub, Guiu, but, he might sort of become a starter later in the season, and to be honest, that's probably the best it's going to get for a lot of the 4.5 options in the forward anyway, so that makes sense. Okay, this next one comes from FPL Mr. X. He's gone for a 4-4-2 as well. So we've got Trafford in goal again. A back four of Gavardio, Livramento, who we've not seen in too many drafts, Newcastle defender, Mark Gay and Virgil. So gone very strong on the centre-backs there with Livramento as well. And then a midfield of Marmouche, Rodri, Szoboszlai, it's a little differential, and Florian Wirtz, and Sheriff. I don't know who that is up front alongside Isak. An Everton player, it seems. But then a bench of Raya, Gabriel, Eze, and Gyökeres. So this is definitely a bench boost Game Week 1 team. But some interesting names in there. And he says not sure about 5-5-4 plus Sheriff. Yeah, basically he means there's a bench boost team here. So he's got the full 15. So it looks like everyone's pretty good, other than maybe Sheriff and Trafford. But what's your thoughts on this one, Chris? Do you like the look of it outside maybe Sheriff?
Yeah, I think for the strategy he's using, I think it's good. Trafford again is a risk with City. Not sure about Livramento, to be honest. Newcastle defender. Isak
Tough
obviously
fixtures.
is a lot of speculation around him at the moment, and I think who knows? It depends how the next week goes, I guess, with his situation. But
I mean, there could be a situation where, FPL Mr. X here blocks himself from making any further transfers, because if Isak moves to Liverpool, he'll have 4, and he can't make a transfer until he sells one of them.
And he already has 4 Man City players.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. He's somehow, I think he's put Trafford in whilst he was at Burnley.
Yeah,
is what he's done. So actually, he can't, as it stands, make a transfer, because he's going to have to sell one of his City
he's
players.
Probably going to sell Trafford anyway when he doesn't play, right?
Yeah, well, this is the thing. Like, I don't know why he's put Trafford in, really, but yeah, I for 5 mil. I mean, they're spending a lot of money on the goalkeepers with Raya and Trafford. You could spend 9 million and just get 2 4.5s like Verbruggen and Kelleher. So yeah, I'm not much of a fan of that. I like the bench boost options, but realistically, would you ever bench Gabriel, Eze, or Gyökeres? No, you probably wouldn't. So I think
you don't have enough benchable players in this team to warrant those 3, because the bench boost is only 1 game week. So he's wasting a lot of good options here. He's going to have to wild card pretty early on if he wants to get that money back.
Yeah, exactly. The way he's distributed it is maybe a bit too strong in the 15. And
I think it's a stinker, if I'm completely honest.
Yeah, I'm not a massive fan of this one. I just think it's going to cause headaches, especially with no
He's
Salah, no Haaland.
He's got 4 City players.
There's no Salah, Haaland, Saka, Palmer, or Watkins. For me, that is alarm bells. And for me, I think this is the lowest of them so far. I'm going to give this a 4 out of 10. Sorry, FPL Mr. X, but not for me.
Yeah.
What about you, Jack?
Yeah, pretty similar. I'm going to go 3.5. I think
Ooh.
It's very low, but you've got no premiums here apart from Isak. You've got the headache of captaincy. You've got the headache of which Liverpool attacker is going to play, if Szoboszlai or Wirtz is going to play in the same position, probably. Sorry. You've got the Man City headache with the starters of Marmoush, and you've got another Man City headache with Trafford, and then your first transfer you've got to make has got to be a Man City. It's just there's so many different things, and you've tripled up on Liverpool and Arsenal as well. It's like you've gone all in on 3 teams here, and it just doesn't work.
Yeah, especially when they play each other game week 3, that will lead to issues. Liverpool and Arsenal. Chris, what's your rating for this one from FPL Mr. X?
Yeah, sadly, it's probably the worst we've seen so far. I think probably a 4 as well for me as well. It's for all the reasons you guys alluded to there. I think needs to go back to the drawing board, I think, to try and rework this draft. But yeah, there's ways around to make it better, definitely.
I think it's the distribution of the funds. Maybe taking a bit of money out of the defense potentially. You've got 3 6 million forwards there as defenders. Sorry, you could move some of that money into upgrading Sheriff and downgrade to a 4.5, or potentially upgrade like a Rodri or a Szoboszlai. There are ways of doing it, but the bench boost, some of the players like Gyökeres and Eze are exciting, but the bench boost probably needs to be a bit more sort of funds spread out a bit more rather than going all in on the defense potentially. Okay, so that's thanks for that, FPL Mr. X. The next one we've got is Marcus Gooners _FPL. He's gone with a 3-5-2 in this one, and he's got no money in the bank on this one. So he's got Kelleher in goal, a back 3 of Van Dijk, Murillo, and Saliba. So quite big at the back there. A midfield, this is quite nice, of Sarr, Adingra, Palmer, Salah, and Rodgers. And then a front 2 of Solanke and Strand Larsen. Then a bench of Darlow, Evan Nilsson, Lacroix, and Esteve. Initial thoughts on that one, Chris? Do you like the look of that? Because that looks a bit more sort of well-balanced, doesn't it?
Definitely. I mean, it's definitely more conventional. I'm not a big fan of the amount of money spent at the back there. I think to have Virgil and Saliba is unnecessary. I think maybe one or the other is just enough. And Adingra, like Jack said earlier, he's an exciting pick, particularly at the start of the season. He could do well, and Sunderland have great fixtures. You'd think he's probably going to be their talisman this season, particularly at the start. So yeah, Sarr. I mean, as a Watford fan, Roberto, I'm not sure what you think, but I'm not sure if Palace's fixtures justify a selection of either him or Eze, to be honest, to start the season. I know they've done well in pre-season, but
Yeah.
I'd sway away, to be honest, big in
I
the
mean,
season.
I understand it, but Palace are the sort of team where, even though the fixtures are tough, that they do score well against teams like that on the break.
True.
Yeah.
Like, we saw it last season against Man City and Liverpool. They caused them problems, and I think Sarr could do well. But yeah, I
149.
agree. I agree that the
100.
fixtures aren't great, and I mean you do get Sunderland game week 4 at least, but
Yeah.
they're not brilliant. They could be a lot better, and for the same price, you can go for someone with much better fixtures like a Kudus potentially.
Big time.
Yeah. Strand Larson as well. I mean, could you do better for that price point? That's the question here, really.
I think I prefer him to Welbeck probably, just because of Wolves'
Really?
fixtures. I think Wolves' fixtures look better than Brighton's, and with Strand Larson, like everything's going to be going towards him. He is the talisman, whereas I feel like Brighton can maybe share the goals out a little bit more.
Now that Cunha's gone, yeah, I guess you're right.
Strand Larson must be on pens as well now. Sure.
Yeah.
Well, he also got 14 goals last year. Like, he didn't exactly do bad when he was not the talisman.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. So, and I think, a lot of the time with Wolves, we're seeing some of their players in pre-season looking quite sort of creative. Like Arias, I think it looks great. And I think, defensively, they need to probably make a few signings, but they do have some good players there. I think Strand Larson could go under the radar a little bit just because it's
He's going to be their guy, isn't he?
He is, I think. And, Evan Nilsson here on the bench is quite interesting because
I like him.
I think he's being overlooked. I really like Bournemouth's fixtures. Despite Liverpool up first, I think their fixtures after
How much is he? How much does he
He's
cost?
7 million, Evan Nilsson, which is quite nice price-wise because it means you can kind of you've got the money to get towards a 6.5, like if a Welbeck does go off, or you could
think about it this way though.
5.
If Semenyo was a striker at 7 million, would you be picking him?
Probably not, to be fair.
And he did better than Evan Nilsson last year, right? And
yeah, he did. Although there isn't, a lot of the 7.5 forwards, I think, have problems with them. Like I like Joao Pedro, but outside of him, Chris Wood is probably not going to do as well as last season. You've got Solanke who's got potential injury, and you've got some of the other 7.5s. There's just a few sort of faults you can find with them. Whereas Evan Nilsson seems kind of there's not much wrong with him. He's staying in that team, and he was great last season, and he got good fixtures. So I like it. I think this is probably one of the best I've seen so far, to be honest, because I really like the midfield. I really like the defense. I prefer probably a Pedro to a Solanke, but that's just my personal preference. And I think Evan Nilsson as a backup striker is perfect because the fixtures after Liverpool look great. For me, this is a solid 8.5 out of 10 for me. I really do like it. Maybe the Sarr inclusion is a sort of bit biased for me, but I think it's good. The only thing I would change is probably Darlow. I don't think he's going to start that many games. So I'd probably just put in Dubravka in that instance. But if we think he's going to get the move,
it's
if
a
not,
4 million keeper at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's no biggie. But if you
prefer, Kelleher gets injured, you're going to be transferring him out anyways. Doesn't really.
I mean, you could literally just go for the other Brentford keeper, Valdemarson. That saves the headache. That probably is the more sensible thing. But yeah, I'm a big fan of this one. I'm going to give that 8.5. What are you saying, Chris?
I'm going to say 7.5. I think the reason why is the defense. I think you should downgrade one of Virgil or Saliba and then upgrade Strand Larson with that money that from one of those defenders. Then I think it's a good draft. I agree with you, Robert. I think Evan Nilsson as a backup striker is really good to rotate with a Solanke. He could get a Joao Pedro as well in there if he downgrades one of those defenders to a 4.5, maybe a Wan-Bissaka or a different 4.5 defender. Then you can get to maybe a better striker than Strand Larson. But yeah, I think a 7.5 for me is a good solid draft.
Yeah, and what about you, Jack?
I'm going to be chronic fence sitter and say 8 in between you guys. I'm going to plonk myself right in the middle there. For both reasons you both said, I don't think the defense is as big of a problem because Virgil and Saliba are both going to play basically all the games. I think Murillo is maybe where you can be a bit creative here. I think I'll probably switch in for a Wan-Bissaka or maybe even another Palace defender just to double up on that in case they have an easy game week.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, interesting. Thanks for that one, Marcus. We're getting through them nearly at the end now. We've got Gurung Monit up next.
Well,
So
we're only an hour and 7 in, so we're okay.
yeah, we'll be good. We'll be good. We're nearly there. So this one is interesting from Gurung. So I'll just get this one up for us. So he's got no money left over, and he's thinking it's very, very good. If he does say so himself.
Oh, wow.
He thinks Mark Guiu going to Sunderland for 4.5 is, the sort of the clincher of this one. So I'll read it out for the audio. So Kelleher in goal, back four of Cucurella, Aït-Nouri, Virgil, and Wan-Bissaka. Then midfield of Wirtz, Saka, Palmer, and Ndiaye. Haven't seen too many Sakas, so that's a nice one. And then Welbeck and Haaland as the front two. So no Salah in this one, but Haaland is in. And then a bench of Dubravka, Reinildo, the 4.0 Sunderland attacking fullback, Miley of Newcastle. I'm not sure he'll play. And Mark Guiu. Interesting, this one. A little bit different. 4-4-2 here. If we just sort of think about this team, I mean, do we like the look of this one? I think I'm not sure if I like this one. Part of me thinks it's good. Part of me thinks going for Haaland over Salah, I'm not as much of a fan on that. But what's your thoughts on that one, Chris?
I'm not so keen, to be honest. Again, the defence, I think he's invested too heavily in 3 premiums there.
Sure.
Cucurella, Aït-Nouri and Virgil. I think there's scope to get rid of 1, at least maybe 2, to downgrade to cheaper alternatives and spread his costs elsewhere. Because as we've spoke about, Welbeck for Brighton, it's not a bad option by any means, but there are better options in the game at the start of the season who he could upgrade to if he gets rid of 1 or 2 of those premium defenders. I don't mind the midfield, to be honest. Obviously, he's missing Salah, which is the thing that you really can't do. I mean, that's like a non-negotiable, isn't it, at the moment in anyone's team? I think it's got to be Salah over Haaland, I think, to start the season. But could be proved wrong. Haaland has a reputation for starting seasons quickly, so who knows? But yeah, I think the defense isn't... True. I don't know. I think the defense is just a bit too heavily invested in, I think. And
I think this is, for me, quite a low rating, I'm afraid. I think it's a 4.5 for me. Would you agree with that, Jack, or would you go a little bit higher?
Well, I think we've once again found little Twitter freak that's gone for all of the defensive contribution picks. No, I don't hate it, actually, if I'm being completely honest. I think the 6 millions do throw me off a bit because Aït-Nouri, we don't even know Aït-Nouri, and he's 6 million.
How many minutes will he get? And obviously, Gvardiol is not ideal because he's getting moved to centre back, maybe less attacking returns, but you could argue more assured of minutes than maybe.
And he is still a goal threat from corners and stuff. I think I'm not going to be as harsh as Roberto. I'm still going to give this a 6.5. I think it's got all the fundamentals, and I think we're being a bit harsh on the Haaland Salah thing. He still has less of a headache with captaincy here because he still has Haaland. But
the thing that pushed it down for me, though, was the bench for me. Like Reynaldo. I keep saying Ronaldo, but it's Reinildo, Wiley, and Guiu. I mean, if anyone gets injured in that team, this team is stuffed. I
think Eddie Howe does like Lewis Miley, and he's only 17, so you could see him coming to play a little bit more this season. But
I think I'd spend less in the defense and more on the bench, probably.
If you got Aït-Nouri down to a 4.5, you can add a $500,000 onto both of those players. You could get someone who's actually going to play.
Exactly. And your rating, Chris?
I'm going to go, I think, a 5.5. I'm not a fan of the defenders. That's probably come across, but elsewhere it's not terrible. I like he's got Saka in there. I think Saka could be a nice player to own, especially.
He's also been overlooked.
Yeah. Obviously, the fixtures aren't great.
How much is Odegaard this year?
Odegaard's 8.5 and Saka's 10.
That's not bad,
Saka's 10 and Odegaard's 8.5. So
he does have some Liverpool coverage in there as well, to be fair, with Wirtz.
But Wirtz can't come.
Man City.
Yeah.
I think if you get Wirtz, you've got to have him alongside Salah. He's not instead of.
You think?
Yeah, Wirtz is good, but Salah's different level. So yeah, not a massive fan. I think Welbeck is just getting older, and I'm not a massive fan of his fixtures, to be honest. Okay.
Did you say Major Salah?
Well, but Welbeck is not on
Oh,
a different level to Salah. So
yeah, no, I'm thinking no, Welbeck's definitely older than Salah.
yeah. The next draft we've got is from FPL Over and Out. I like that little team, that fantasy football name there. So Over and Out. Let's see if this team will be over by the time we're done with it. So we've got no money left over. Bench boost game week 1 is the plan for
Don't like that.
this manager. No Salah, no Haaland league. That's what he's gone
Okay.
with, because it was a thing that FPL General has said he's going to do this season. No Salah or Haaland, and that's what FPL Over and Out is also doing. So Sells in goal, then Munoz, Virgil, and Murillo is the back three. Palmer, Fernandez, Wirtz, Rogers, Watkins, Gyökeres, Strand Larsen. I have to say, I'm a big fan of this, considering it's a non-Salah and Haaland draft. It's stacked in terms of the midfield and attack, and then
it really shows you, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, it shows you what you can do with the money. Like a bench of Kelleher, Enzo Lefebvre, Wan-Bissaka, and Konza. Thoughts on this, Chris? Because this is decent, isn't it? For a no Salah Haaland draft.
I think it's just about as good as you can get, isn't it? Without Salah and Haaland. I think,
yeah,
as you say, the midfield.
Dangerous.
Yeah, I really like it. I really like it. I mean, what was the bench again? Sorry.
It's Enzo Lefebvre, Wan-Bissaka, and Konza with Kelleher.
Oh my! So he's got great depth in there as well.
Yeah, they're all going to play.
Yeah. No, I really, really like it. Really.
The only thing I would say is Munoz. The fixtures aren't great. He's got attacking threat, so that can kind of counteract that. And I also love the goalkeeper pick. I think Sells. I've had him in most of my drafts, and I think he's the best 5.0, to be honest.
I'm a bit not keen on Sells, you know.
Yeah, I know you've got your hate on Forest. We know. You're not fancying them this season.
The agenda.
To be fair, a double up on Forest to start the season, is that going a bit far? I don't know. I'm not sure. I know
they are both,
but
it's probably their two best assets, right?
Yeah, I prefer the Forest defensive options and the attackers, but I think the fixtures are there that you could feasibly go for double defense.
Yeah, Brentford's not the scariest thing in the world, is it?
Yeah, they lost. You know, they might lose Witter as well potentially if they go to Newcastle. So I like it. Yeah, this is the thing. Like, I mean,
going to be crossing it into the air.
Yeah, we'll have to see. But I have to say I like this. But by the one sort of limitation of having no Salah or Haaland, I still have to cap it at probably a 5.5. But I still think it's good.
People to sing all the praises.
I was like trying to get in.
This is one of the best drafts I've seen. Yeah, this is a 1.
I know I'm brutal, but Salah and Haaland for me just ruins it so much.
Yeah,
but I think
I get that.
And also you're gambling on 2 players that have joined the league there with Gyökeres and Wirtz. You know, it's a big gamble to spend that much money on both of them.
Yeah.
Do you think, Chris? What do you think for this draft rating?
Yeah, I'd cap it again. I'd cap it slightly high. I think a 7. I'd go without Salah or Haaland. It's pretty hard to see a team without one of them at least. So, but I think besides that, I think the team is really well balanced. So it is, like Jack said, it just open your eyes to the possibilities without them. So yeah, maybe it's worth thinking about. Maybe we're all crazy just going for Salah automatically.
I think I'm happy. I'm happy with my Salah or Haaland.
Yeah, personally, I don't hate Salah.
Jack, what was your rating?
I might be a bit taboo here, but I think having Salah and Haaland is quite a good thing. So I'm also obviously going to cap mine. I think I'm going to cap it at 7.5 because in terms of drafts you can have without Salah and Haaland, this is probably the best one.
Do you know what?
So I'm giving him some credit for the fact that he's in. The fact that he's in a league that's like that, you know, he's got huge bollocks here, really.
Yeah, you've convinced me, Jack. You know, I feel like I went a bit too harsh there. I'm going to go up to 7. I think it's
from 4.5.
No, 5.5.
Oh, okay. It's not that big of a jump.
Yeah, it's a little bit, but I just
from,
can't rate it any higher than a 7 because of the fact it's not got Salah and Haaland. But yeah, now I think about it, like Watkins, Rogers, Wirtz, Virgil, Sells, they're all great assets. So I've got to give
You're going to
FPL
cover
over
some
and
of
out.
Salah's points with these like semi-premiums, aren't you? But you can't. If Salah does have a stinker, he's going to be laughing, which is probably
Yeah, that's true. But I
or
think
if he gets
also,
injured, and there's AFCON as well.
there is, but you know, we've got to remember as well, we've got transfers if we want to change it around. So I just think starting with Salah probably makes more sense. But, you know, as we always say, play it your way, as Planet FPL James often says. And finally, we've got the last draft from FPL Glasto. FPL Glasto, this one, he's gone for a bench boost 1, free and a free hit 2, with lots of nice home fixtures to get started for the new season. So this is a tasty little differential draft. I'm liking this. I say differential because the defense is looking a bit interesting. Maybe not the rest of it. It's quite template, but he's gone with Kelleher, Verbrusen.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting defenders. Maatsen, Goodmanson, Anderson. So that's 2 4.0 defenders. There's Anderson of Sunderland. Never even knew there was one. Van der Ven and Wan-Bissaka. And then this midfield is dreamy. Rogers, Palmer, Salah, Wirtz, Kudus. And then a front three of Pedro, Wood, Solanke. I mean, attackingly, you can't get better than that, can you, Chris?
No, just blank out the defense. Just blank out the defense completely, and then this draft is absolutely wonderful. But yeah, I'd never heard of both of those 4.0 defenders. I think it's.
I mean, Goodmanson, to be fair, I do believe will start. He's a quite attacking fullback for Leeds.
Oh, is it? Okay.
I mean, you're resting your hopes on having to start one of Goodmanson or Anderson pretty much every week, because I'm not even sure Maatsen will start. Like Digne,
yeah, exactly.
Like
Digne,
you know.
yeah.
So yeah, it's just too many risks in my opinion. This draft, I respect the boldness, but and also I just like when you bench boost this team, it'll be good for the first week, but like you don't want to bench boost Anderson because you've got Wan-Bissaka and a Sunderland defender in this team that he's bench boosting. So like you want a 0-0 or you know it's tricky because like Maatsen, will he play? You know, there's better 4.5s in place of Maatsen, and I'd put in probably a Reinildo instead of Anderson. And then maybe we've got a conversation because the rest of the team is pretty stacked, to be fair. I like it more and more the more I look at it. But based on our overall thoughts, Chris, I'd agree that there's a few changes I'd make here, but I still think it's solid enough. I'm going to go 6.5 on this one. What about you?
I feel like I've said 7 for all of them, but I'm going to say 7 again. I think there's not actually that much that needs tweaking here when you think about it. The Anderson, yeah, like you said to Ronaldo, however you say it, is it quite an easy swap, isn't it?
Yeah.
For the Sunderland players, and he's an attacking fullback. Maatsen is the other one who I'd probably switch out to a different defender, 4.5, but
maybe even a Decalpa or something. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, no, I think it's good. I think I really like, and that midfield and forward line is as good as you can get, really.
Put it on your fingers. What's your fingers saying? 6. Okay.
6.
All right. We might have a silent Jack for the remainder of the pod, but that's good. That's all right. We've got miming, and for the YouTube, this is great. You know, the facial reactions. This is top content. Well, that's the draft's finished. I hope you have enjoyed that part of the episode. Thanks for those that did send in their drafts. Just to end off this episode, then we are going to look at our drafts very quickly, our updated drafts. So I'm just going to get mine up now, Chris. So in goal, I've gone for Kelleher. Got Kelleher back in goal after previously, you know, loving Sells. Kelleher is in for me at the moment. And then I've gone for a backup goalkeeper of Valdemarson. So, you know, keeping it simple. A back three of Gvardiol, Juve, and Van der Ven. And then Cole Palmer, Mo Salah, Florian Wirtz, Rogers, and Kudus. And then Joao Pedro and Ollie Watkins. And then a bench of Mark Guiu, Pinnock, and Reinildo. So what are your thoughts on that team, Chris?
Yeah, so there's been a few changes there, but not like wholesale changes. You've still got Kudus in your team. Joao Pedro is obviously one you're very keen on. Interested to see you brought in Watkins, because I know in the first episode you were maybe less keen on going for him. But as we've seen with a lot of the drafts, I think people's opinions have shifted on Watkins a lot. And
yeah, I mean, he's been great in pre-season, hasn't he? So
yeah, exactly. So yeah, no, I like it. I think it's different, like you say, and that defense I like the look of a lot as well. I think Van de Ven, Gvardiol's a kind of like a safer pick in the premium backer. I think at centre half, he might be less of an attacking threat, but who knows? That could help him with defensive contributions.
that's what I'm thinking. Yeah, and to be honest, I had Van Dijk literally up until this morning, and then I saw a comment earlier from Slot saying Van Dijk was ill apparently, but that's not just the only reason I've taken him out. I've also thought about it and thought, yes, Van Dijk's great for defensive contributions, but the fixtures there aren't great for Liverpool clean sheets. And I'm just thinking maybe Man City, although they can be frustrating defensively with Ederson always letting one in, at least you've maybe got better fixtures in the short term, at least for Man City than Liverpool. But I know that they get good again around game week 4, so could be one that I could just stick out with Van Dijk. But at the moment, I've switched in Vardiol. I've got Juve in there as well. So previously I had Wan-Bissaka. I've now got Mam Juve from West Ham. I like the look of him. I mean, maybe it's just completely knee-jerking from the game against Bournemouth in the Club World Cup, but he just looks so attacking, and some great deliveries were put in. And then, yeah, I've put Wirtz in for the first time. He wasn't in there previously. I just like the fact that he's come with the price tag. I think he's come with that pedigree, and I think he's got something to prove. And I just expect him to play a lot of minutes in that number 10. So whether or not he'll kind of straight away get going and do well in that Liverpool team, we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, interesting. What about yours, Chris? What's your draft looking like? Have there's been any noticeable changes? I mean, I've got yours up and at the moment, and it's looking interesting, isn't it? So Raya and Darlow as the goalkeepers. A back line of Cucurella, O'Brien, Porro, Esteve, and Wan-Bissaka. And then Saka, Semenyo, Njai, Salah, Paqueta. Interesting. And then Joao Pedro, Mayende, and Solanke. What are you thinking, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, I'll start from the back. I think the difficulty with the goalkeepers, I think, is for me, is either Raya or Sanchez. I want an Arsenal defender because my plan is not to wildcard until game week 9, game week 10. And Arsenal's fixtures, although they start quite tough, they have a nice little run, I think 7 to 9. And I think I want some coverage of Arsenal because even in the hard games, as we saw at the start of last season, a lot of people went without Gabriel and he came back to haunt them. So I want a piece of the Arsenal defence. So it's either whether I do Raya and Cucurella or Sanchez and Gabriel. So that's still a decision to be made, but that's what it is at the moment. Who I can't even remember who the 4.0 Darlow isn't it at the moment? But, yeah, just any 4.0 to be honest, because I'm not intending to bench boost early on in the season. I don't think. So yeah, I don't really mind who's in that position. Defensively, who do I have? Cucurella, obviously, as we've said.
I think Esteve and O'Brien is interesting. Everton defender.
Yeah. I've really wanted to get O'Brien. Even last season, I was monitoring him at the start of the season because I thought he'd be a really good asset. He didn't actually
hit the post.
Yeah. Again. But even last season, when he joined from Lyon, some of his numbers that they had in Ligue 1 were really encouraging. And I think from an Everton defensive standpoint, I don't want to go to Tarkowski at 5.5. And I think O'Brien's a better asset than Mikolenko, personally. So I think that was the rationale behind him.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and then
I like it. I do. The one that's sticking out like a sore thumb, I'll be honest, Chris, is Paqueta.
It's Paqueta. Yeah.
Yeah. What's your thought on that? Because obviously he's 6 million, so not a bad price. But do you think that you'd prefer Souček, for instance, at the same price?
No, I think if I'm going to go for a West Ham, I think I would be Paqueta. Maybe it's from watching the summer series. I've been just really impressed by how he's played. I know you have to take it with a bit of a pinch of salt, but yeah, I think and obviously
with his celebration,
yeah, and it's been obviously he's had the charges cleared against him, which will probably be a massive weight off for him personally. But I think that I wanted to have a West Ham player. I don't really want Bowen, so I thought, go for Paqueta to start the season, and then if needs be, just transfer him out. You'll notice I don't have Palmer in this team, I do have 1 million in the bank. I wanted to have Saka for game week 1 and 2, but I can switch to Palmer with the money in the bank.
Yeah. No Palmer from a Chelsea fan is interesting, but I get it because you've gone Saka instead. I mean, I don't know. I just think without Chelsea fixture run, I find it hard to go without Palmer. But Saka could do better if he just scores a hattie against Leeds. Then you might be laughing. It's interesting. It is interesting. And then to end on Chris's team, you've got Mayenda in there. So would he be on your bench for game week 1?
Yes, yeah, he would.
Interesting. Okay. Well, they've got good fixtures, so I don't hate it.
I think he's a good option against West Ham, if I'm honest.
I mean, this is the thing. We've all got Wan-Bissaka and Juve and stuff in our teams. How sort of nailed on is it for Sunderland for their first game back at the Stadium of Light in the Premier League?
Surely.
To go and beat West Ham. It feels like it's
and you want to start Mayenda when he plays against Newcastle for sure, because that's going to be 5-5.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's true. It'll be up for that derby for sure. No, really interesting team, Chris. Thank you for that. Intriguing to see how much it's changed from the last episode. And then finally yours, Jack. Now, we are sort of always blessed with your differential thinking, and you're sort of trying to think outside the box a little bit. So you've got actually a bit more of a team similar to mine. I expected it to have, some real wild cards in there, but you've gone quite template actually.
I think I put it in the if you can add it. I don't know if you can add it to the live, but I put it down at the bottom there.
I've seen it just been popped up.
Yeah, there you go. I've that's why I was the producer. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, so we got Kelleher in there. Obviously Temple, Dubravka is the other keeper. Not much to talk about there. Reece James is one I've been looking at, which is a lot. I've not seen many people with Reece James, and he has been. I would
not start with Reece James. I'll be honest.
Really?
Yeah,
he's playing.
It's after waiting to happen. Like I'm sorry, he's too injury prone. I think he's past it. I'm sorry, Chris, but I just think he is.
He's only 25, and he played 19 of the games last year, so he wasn't as injury prone as people think. And he did play in the Club World Cup final as well. He started, so I do think
he starts. If he fits, he starts.
He's fit about 1% of the time. That's the issue.
Well, yeah. Second half of the season, his availability was great.
Every day for the rest of his life, can he? That'd be quite a sad little life, Jane.
One thing is, his assist against Man United was very good, but that was like a very sort of fleeting moment in a pretty injury hit season for him. So I just worry about it again. And
it's a gamble.
How much is James? Is he 5.5?
5.5, same as Munoz on the bench.
Yeah, for 5.5 you can get Milenkovic. I think I'd just pay for that, to be honest.
Okay.
But yeah,
I can see why he's a Chelsea defender. He wants a route into Chelsea.
I haven't got Sanchez. I've gone for a cheaper option than
I think about saving a 0.5 though and just going Colwill, to be honest.
Yeah, I get that. Is he going to start? He's definitely going to start.
Yeah, I think so.
It's boring pick though, Colwill.
Boring. Roberto, we talked about me not having a differential, and the first one I've done is Reece James. I think we're talking about.
It's boring. Colwell's boring, but he's also a differential, and we won't get picked by people because his defensive contributions are pretty rubbish. But it's quite hard to get differential point scoring if he's.
Reece James is going to be the best defender in the game this year. That's Matt. He's going to be.
Oh, he's gone for it. He's on his chest.
Alongside Reece James, on my bench I do have Munoz. So if I do want to get rid of Reece James, even for like a 4 million, if someone's flying at 4 mil, that's me saving $1.5 million there, and I can just put Munoz in. He's going to start every game. I know their fixtures aren't amazing, but I've got another midfielder on the bench in Gordon that I can bring on if I want to change my formation and just have 3 defenders. So I've got a lot of flexibility.
Fascinating. I mean, with the signing of Elanga at Newcastle, are you not worried about Gordon's minutes?
No, I don't think so, because if Isak goes, then Gordon's going to get some minutes up front, right? Because they can't sign Ekatike now.
Well, but they might potentially sign Sesko if Man United can't get that deal done.
Yeah, no, that is completely right.
Do you think Gordon though? He might be on pens potentially, Chris, if Isak does leave.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I think. To be honest, with Elanga, I would expect more to play off the right, I would imagine. And then, like you say, with Isak's kind of being missing at the moment, he could get minutes up front. So, yeah, I quite like it. It's just the fixes, really, for Newcastle.
Yeah, the first 2 are a bit crap, and then he's got Leeds, Wolves, Bournemouth. So I think it's okay. To
would you bench him for the first 2 then.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, unless who've Liverpool got game week 2?
They've got a game against
Newcastle.
Newcastle.
Oh,
yes.
oh shit. Well, depending on how Verts plays, that could be maybe Gordon coming in, so I cover both bases. But we'll see. Moving on for the defense, Van der Ven, Wan-Bissaka, we talked about both of them. I like 4.5 million options a lot because they're so flexible with benching and stuff like that. If I went in 6 million with Virgil and then Kukurea, and I went for someone like Vardio, it's like I have to play them.
Yeah.
But I think I've got a bit more flexibility here where Virgil's the only one I have to play every week. Do you know what I mean? And then in midfield, Salah is an obvious one. I mean, he's a differential, so I don't know if you guys have him, but he's in there. Verts, I think Verts was one that I had Marmouche for a while, and I was really toying with that idea because if he plays, his goal return to minutes is really good for Man City, but it's just the Man City headache that I don't want. And like you said, like maybe 20 minutes ago, he's going to probably be the starting 10. Kudus in there, I think he's going to start for Tottenham, especially now that Son's gone. It's freed up some room on the wing. Bless him, Son. Did you see the video when he left?
Yeah, it was very sad. But and Maddison as well getting injured might even secure more minutes. For
that's Maddison's story in a nutshell. I mean, same as Reece James. But Maddison was one I was toying with. But obviously now that's happened, he's out there. But he's when he's been playing, he's been a lot better towards the end of his last stint. Then Rodgers and Watkins, the two template Villa players, they're going to be the two guys, unless Daniel Marlon carries on his preseason form. But we all know preseason is so much different to the league, right?
Yeah, I mean even Tielemans, right? Tielemans might be an
Tielemans,
option.
Again, assists
as well.
But I'm surprised at Rodgers' price. I thought he was going to be 7.5 or 8 when the game came out because of how good he was in the Champions League, even as well. And they haven't got like that guy up front that's like Duran now, so they need some more goals from somewhere. And even if Rodgers get benched, like he's going to be coming on as that winger still. Who have they got? They got McGinn. They've got McGinn. Some plays on the wings. You got Rodgers, and then Diaby's not there anymore. What's his name? You just said him, Daniel Marlon. That's it. The other guy.
Yeah.
I don't think Wendy is going to get many minutes.
There are less Villa options. I mean, now Rashford and Asensio are both gone. It does mean it's interesting for players like Marlon.
But they might sign someone.
They might. That's the problem. So we have to wait and see. I feel like Marlon might be a bit risky, but we'll have to see. Really interesting draft.
That's my team. João Pedro, same as you as well. He's just been on fire since he joined. So
you always got to believe in João. Thanks for your draft, Jack. And that's really interesting to see how things have changed. And there are some similarities, but a few sort of nuanced differences as well.
So you both rated me a 10, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll say 2.
A 2,
if
that's
I'm being generous. If I'm being generous,
I'll
be honest. I have to rate it a 10 because most of them are my players. So
it's me.
It's basically my team plus Reece James and Wan-Bissaka.
And obviously Reece James is going to be the best defender this year. So all right.
You've heard it here first.
Out in writing. We'll tweet that out, and we'll come back to it at the end of the season if Reece James gets injured again. Right, that's our drafts. Thanks for that discussion. We're going to end off the pod by quickly saying about Fantasy Football Fest, which is coming on the 15th of August. Are you pumped, Chris? Are you pumped?
I am, mate. I am. I'm really looking forward to it.
It's going to be awesome. We're going to have special guests like Julian Laron there. We're going to have Jermaine Genus and Jermaine Pennant doing their Wild Cards show live. So we got all the best people of the FPL community that will be there. Unfortunately, Jack won't be able to make it. I know he was what you were thinking of when I just said best people for the FPL community. But yeah, he's probably going to be fanning himself in sunny USA by that point.
No, it's the day before I leave for Mexico. So
he's on his trip to Mexico. There you go.
If I was in Mexico, I mean,
they're probably doing FPL Fantasy Football Fest in Mexico. You never know.
Yeah, I'll do my own, and it's just me and Jess, my girlfriend.
Yeah.
Wouldn't mind mini league last year.
That would be class. That would be class, to be fair. No, we're going to end off though by once again reminding you, if you want to join the mini league before we get into the last bit of the pod and the quiz, do remember to join using the code WE1RLM. We1RLM. It's going to be really exciting. It's all smiles at the start of the season.
We won our league mini, is what we're saying.
Can you win our mini league? Is the question. First sort of game week preview is going to be exciting with FPL graduates coming out next Thursday, the 14th of August. So that will be a really great one with FPL graduates. Looking forward to that one to preview Game Week 1. But before we do preview the game week, we got to end this episode with the quiz. And seeing as Jack is in sunny USA, I thought it was appropriate. We're going to have a USA theme to this quiz. So we'll see how Chris gets on. And
Chris
Jack
Richards.
gets on.
Chris Richards.
So the question is, can you name the 20 Americans with the most Premier League appearances?
And is this hot potato, right?
This is going to be hot potato. So for the first answer, you're going to have to buzz in. So we'll do buzzers now. So Chris, what's your buzzer this week?
King Cole.
King Cole, always. And Jack?
Chris Richards.
Okay, Chris Richards. Well, be interesting to see if you use that as an answer. But point is, yeah, the first one is buzzing in, and then whoever gets it first, they will answer first, and it's just back and forth like tennis. So, buzzers at the ready. For the first one, the clubs that they played for: Liverpool, Blackburn, Aston Villa, Tottenham. Buzz in when you think you know.
Clint Dempsey.
Jack, it's not Clint Dempsey.
Oh wait, I didn't even say Chris Richards. My buzzer now is. No, I'm going to change it.
Well, because you didn't use your buzzer, I'm gonna go again. I'm gonna reset it. I'll say again: Liverpool, Blackburn, Aston Villa, Tottenham.
Oof.
Any buzzers for that?
And they're all American.
Yep, these players are all American. Any ideas?
What?
King Cole.
Yes, Chris.
Is it Friedel? Brad Friedel?
It is Brad Friedel. Very well done.
What a
He
legend,
used his
by the way.
buzzer and he got the question right. So that's 1-0 to Chris. Very well done. This next one: Leicester City, Tottenham, Southampton, Fulham. A little bit trickier, that one. Leicester City, Tottenham, Southampton, Fulham. And my clue...
Karen Robertson?
Not, I'm afraid. So you're frozen out momentarily, Jack. But my clue to you, Chris, before we get reset...
Oh, I get a clue. Okay.
...is the first letter of the name, first name, is the same as the surname. That's my clue to you.
Wout Weghorst.
I don't think he's American, but it would be great if he was. Any ideas, Chris? If not, we can just pass this one.
What were the teams again? Sorry.
Leicester, Tottenham, Southampton, Fulham.
Oh my God.
Leicester. Is he bold?
I need to search that up. Now this is interesting. He is bold. How did you know?
I've got him pictured in my head, but obviously I'm not going to say.
All right,
I
Chris,
don't know.
any
I'm
idea?
intrigued now.
All right, do you give up, Chris?
Yeah, I do.
Go
Yeah.
on, who is
Okay,
it?
Jack, go for it.
No, I pictured him in my head, but I don't know his name.
Okay, let me
Put
show
a
you.
picture of him in chat. See whether it is the guy.
Okay,
Yeah.
no, what I'll do is I'll put a picture up on the stream and see if you can identify if it's the same.
This is great. I love this.
If it's the same player you thought it was. Okay.
Do you know how to do that? If you click present on the
No,
slide.
I'm just gonna do this.
Yeah.
I have no idea who that is. Who
He
is
looks
that?
so American. No, I don't know his name. You're gonna have
Alright.
to say it.
The answer is Casey Keller.
Oh no.
Oh my God. You did not know that, Jack. No.
I didn't know his name. If I'm honest, I was
Goalkeeper.
picturing Cambiasso.
Yeah, goalkeeper. Cambiasso, that's just baldest. Come on.
That's just boldest. Go on,
Yeah.
carry on. Let's do it.
Okay, all right. Well, it stays 1-0 to Chris. Next one then is going to be Tottenham, Sunderland, Newcastle. Tottenham,
These are
Sunderland,
hard.
Newcastle. American player. Not many players, remember, have gone from Sunderland to Newcastle.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, but he's American, so he doesn't understand.
Let's just think of American players specifically that have played for Newcastle.
I feel like this
Down
should be
the
a big
years.
clue. Will we know him?
Yeah, when I say it, you'll be kicking yourself. He's a bit of
Can we
a
get,
cult
like-
hero back in the day.
Ooh.
Cult hero.
Well, maybe that's putting it a bit strongly, but all right.
Can you give us a clue?
The clue is he has played alongside Lionel Messi.
I assume this is Inter Miami. Oh God. Cult hero.
I'm
Well,
stumped.
Cult
This is
hero is
tough.
probably over egging it a little bit. Maybe I shouldn't have said that.
I'm just gonna go Clint Dempsey because I can't think.
No, it's not Clint Dempsey. Chris, any
I
idea?
have no idea. This is really tough.
Do you want to give it
Okay.
us?
I'll give it to you.
We've got a lot of players to rattle through here.
No, we're only doing a few. DeAndre Yedlin is the answer.
Oh,
You
yeah.
Cult hero is absolutely right. Cult hero.
Cult
is
hero.
absolutely-
Was that not right?
Yeah, no, Yedlin. He scored a screamer, didn't he? For who was it for? Was it for Newcastle?
Probably.
Because he did the was it him that did like he'd like dive and headed it and he flew in the goal, or is that Almiron? One of the two.
Probably. Well, I feel like your reaction said it all there, but it stays 1-0 to Chris. Okay,
if this is 1-0 at the end, this is really embarrassing.
We got
The
two more
lowest scoring
questions.
quiz of all time.
We got 2 more questions though. So if
Okay,
Jack
I can
doesn't
win
get
this.
this, if Jack doesn't get this, it's a clean sweep for Chris. So, or potentially a clean sweep if he gets the next one. This is interesting. Aston Villa, Middlesbrough. Aston Villa, Middlesbrough from the US of A. Aston Villa, Middlesbrough.
Brad Guzan.
It is.
Oh,
Well
fair.
done, Jack. Very good. Very good stuff.
Middlesbrough is a
Baldy.
throw off because everyone knows Villa.
You didn't get one bald goalkeeper, so I thought I'd throw you another.
One we'd actually know.
Yeah. So that was correct. Well done. The final question to decide today's quiz. The clubs are. Oh, will you get this though? Yeah, I think you can. I'm gonna say. Oh,
Are they in
no,
order?
That's too hard. That's too hard. All right, let's do it. Leeds and Bournemouth. Jack knows it.
Yeah. It's it's not Weston McKennie. It's the other one.
Oh no. King Cole.
King Colt, Chris.
Is it Tyler Adams?
It is Tyler Adams.
Oh.
Jack is gutted.
It was on the tip of your tongue, Jack. It was on the tip
Yeah.
of your tongue.
I gave you it.
Thank you.
Weston McKennie gave him the clue. Gave the Leeds clue away. Yeah, it is Tyler
Oh.
Adams. And that means Chris wins the quiz this week. And
It
that
was
is
the
a great
other
way.
American CDM from Leeds.
Yeah, I'm absolutely gutted for you, Jack. I mean, the fact that you're in the US today right now and you couldn't get that quiz.
I've met them all this week, obviously.
Literally. They probably all had a nice.
They're all
of,
here to see me. You know.
Yeah, they all had a nice sort of chat and a cup of tea with you, I'm sure.
Well, they're all actually on the other side of this camera watching me, and they've all just got their guns out ready.
Yeah. Yeah, they're all disappointed in you. No, great stuff, guys. Really enjoyed that episode. That's where we're going to wrap things up. Thanks again, Jack, for coming on. It's been great.
It's all right. I am going to have to run now because my family's waiting for me to go out.
Yeah,
But
no worries, mate.
Lovely being on.
I'd say keep running for those away from those people with the guns. Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep running.
Yeah. All right. See you guys later.
No worries,
See you
mate.
later.
Nice one, Jack.
Bye.
All good. Thanks again, Chris, for coming on this episode. It's been a fun one.
Yeah, enjoyed it very much. Yeah, looking forward to getting in the swing of the game week pods as well from next week. So yeah,
Exactly. Yeah,
good.
it's a really exciting one. We're so pleased to say we've got Ben and Josh from FPL Graduates on in the next week's episode to preview Game Week 1, where we'll have a proper confirmed, locked in of our teams ahead of that Friday deadline on the 15th of August, where we'll be sort of answering your questions, which we'll put out on the tweet this Sunday ahead of the final Game Week preview of Game Week 1. And we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye, everybody.